What is an agency relationship?
An agency relationship arises when a principal authorizes an agent to act on the principal's behalf and subject to the principal's control.
What are the key elements needed to create an agency relationship?
Consent, action on behalf of the principal, and the principal's right to control the agent are the key elements.
Does an agency relationship require a written contract?
No, agency can be created orally, by conduct, or in writing unless a specific law requires a writing.
What is actual authority?
Actual authority is authority the principal intentionally gives the agent, either expressly or impliedly.
What is express authority?
Express authority is authority stated directly by the principal, often in words or writing.
What is implied authority?
Implied authority includes powers reasonably necessary to carry out the agent's express authority or the tasks assigned.
What is apparent authority?
Apparent authority exists when a third party reasonably believes the agent has authority because of the principal's manifestations.
Why does apparent authority protect third parties?
It binds the principal when the principal's words or conduct reasonably caused the third party to rely on the agent's supposed authority.
What is ratification in agency law?
Ratification occurs when a principal affirms an unauthorized act after the fact, making it binding as if originally authorized.
What must generally exist for valid ratification?
The principal must know the material facts, accept the entire transaction, and have capacity at the time of ratification.
What fiduciary duties does an agent owe to the principal?
The agent generally owes loyalty, obedience, reasonable care, accounting, and disclosure of relevant information.
What duty of loyalty means for an agent?
The agent must act for the principal's benefit in matters connected with the agency and avoid self-dealing or secret profits.
What duty does the principal owe the agent?
The principal generally owes compensation if agreed, reimbursement and indemnification for authorized acts, and a duty to cooperate fairly.
When is a principal liable for contracts made by an agent?
A principal is liable when the agent acted with actual authority, apparent authority, or the act was later ratified.
What is a disclosed principal?
A disclosed principal is one whose identity is known to the third party and whose existence is known at the time of contracting.
When is an agent typically liable on a contract for a disclosed principal?
The agent usually is not liable on the contract if acting with an authority for a disclosed principal.
What is a partially disclosed principal?
A partially disclosed principal is one whose existence is known, but whose identity is not known to the third party.
What is an undisclosed principal?
An undisclosed principal is one whose existence and identity are both unknown to the third party when the agent contracts.
Why can an agent be liable when the principal is undisclosed or partially disclosed?
Because the third party did not know who stood behind the contract, the law often allows liability against the agent as well.
What is respondit superior?
It is the doctrine under which an employer is vicariously liable for torts committed by an employee within the scope of employment.
Are principals generally liable for torts of independent contractors?
Generally no, unless an exception applies, such as inherently dangerous activity or negligent hiring.
How can an agency relationship terminate?
It can terminate by agreement, completion of purpose, lapse of time, revocation, renunciation, death, incapacity, illegality, or operation of law.
Why is notice of termination important?
Notice helps cut off apparent authority, so third parties no longer reasonably rely on the agent's ability to bind the principal.
What is a contract?
A contract is a legally enforceable promise or set of promises.
What are the basic requirements for contract formation?
Offer, acceptance, consideration, and no valid defense to formation are the basic requirements.
What is an offer?
An offer is a communication showing present intent to contract on definite terms, so that acceptance will create a binding agreement.
When does a statement usually fail to qualify as an offer?
It usually fails when it is only preliminary negotiation, vague, indefinite, or does not show commitment to be bound.
What is acceptance?
Acceptance is assent to the terms of the offer in the manner invited or required by the offer.
What is the mirror image rule?
Under common law, acceptance must match the offer exactly. Otherwise, the response is treated as a counteroffer.
What is consideration?
Consideration is the bargained-for exchange of legal value between the parties.
What generally does not count as consideration?
Past consideration, pre-existing duties, and illusory promises generally do not qualify.
What is promissory estoppel?
Promissory estoppel can make a promise enforceable when the promisor should expect reliance and injustice can be avoided only by enforcement.
What is capacity in contract law?
Capacity refers to a party's legal ability to enter a binding contract. Minors, intoxicated persons, and mentally impaired persons may have limited capacity.
What makes a contract void rather than voidable?
A void contract has no legal effect from the start, while a voidable contract is valid unless the protected party elects to avoid it.
What is the statute of frauds?
The statute of frauds requires certain agreements to be evidenced by a signed writing to be enforceable.
What types of contracts commonly fall under the statute of frauds?
Contracts involving interests in land, promises that cannot be performed within 1 year, suretyship promises, and certain sales of goods.
What is the parole evidence rule?
It generally bars prior or contemporaneous extrinsic evidence that contradicts a
What is a condition precedent?
A condition precedent.
What is a condition subsequent?
A condition subsequent.
What is substantial performance?
Substantial performance means a party has performed enough of the contract to require the other side to perform, subject to damages for minor defects.
What is a material breach?
A material breach is a significant failure that excuses the non-breaching party from further performance and allows remedies.
What is anticipatory repudiation?
It occurs when a party clearly indicates, before performance is due, that the party will not perform.
What damages are intended to place the injured party in the position of expected performance?
Expectation damages seek to put the injured party in the economic position the party would have occupied if the contract had been performed.
What are consequential damages?
Consequential damages are special losses resulting from the breach that were foreseeable at the time of contracting.
What are liquidated damages?
Liquidated damages are an agreed estimate of damages enforceable, if reasonable and not a penalty.
When is specific performance generally available?
Specific performance is generally available when money damages are inadequate, such as for unique goods or real property.
What is rescission?
Rescission cancels the contract and seeks to restore the parties to their pre-contract positions.
What is assignment?
Assignment is the transfer of contractual rights to a third party.
What is delegation?
Delegation is the transfer of contractual duties to a third party.
Can all duties be delegated?
No, duties involving personal skill, judgment, trust, or terms prohibiting delegation often cannot be delegated.
What is a third-party beneficiary?
A third-party beneficiary is a non-party whom the contracting parties intended to benefit directly.
What is the UCC?
The Uniform Commercial Code is a model statute governing commercial transactions, especially the sale of goods, negotiable instruments, bank transactions, and secured transactions.
What is a good under Article 2 of the UCC?
A good is a movable, tangible item identified at the time of sale.
What is a merchant under the UCC?
A merchant is a person who regularly deals in goods of the kind, or otherwise, holds out special knowledge or skill regarding the practices or goods involved.
What is the Battle of the Forms?
It is the UCC rule dealing with additional or different terms in acceptance or confirmation forms exchanged by merchants.
What is the perfect tender rule?
Under the UCC, the buyer may reject goods if they or the delivery fail in any respect to conform to the contract, subject to important seller rights and exceptions.
What is the seller's right to cure?
The seller may have a chance to fix a non-conforming delivery within the contract time, or in some cases beyond it, if the seller had reasonable grounds to believe the goods would be accepted.
What is an express warranty?
An express warranty arises from affirmations of fact, promises, descriptions, or samples that become part of the basis of the bargain.
What is the implied warranty of merchantability?
It is a warranty that merchant sellers provide that goods are fit for ordinary purposes and meet ordinary commercial standards.
What is the implied warranty of fitness for a particular purpose?
It arises when the seller knows the buyer's special purpose, and the buyer relies on the seller's skill to select suitable goods.
Can UCC warranties be disclaimed?
Yes, but disclaimers must meet statutory requirements and be clear, especially for merchantability and fitness disclaimers.
What is risk of loss?
Risk of loss determines which party bears the economic loss if goods are damaged or destroyed without fault before the transaction is completed.
What is title in a sales transaction?
Title refers to ownership of goods, and UCC rules determine when it passes based on the parties' agreement and delivery terms.
What is a negotiable instrument?
A negotiable instrument is an unconditional written promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money that meets UCC formal requirements.
What is a note?
A note is a two-party negotiable instrument containing a promise to pay.
What is a draft?
A draft is a three-party negotiable instrument containing an order to pay.
What is a check?
A check is a draft drawn on a bank and payable on demand.
What is a holder in due course?
A holder in due course takes a negotiable instrument for value, in good faith, and without notice of certain problems, and receives elevated rights.
Why is holder in due course status important?
It allows the holder to take the instrument free of many personal defenses that could be asserted against an ordinary holder.
What is attachment in secured transactions?
Attachment is the process by which a security interest becomes enforceable against the debtor with respect to collateral.
What are the basic requirements for attachment?
Value given, the debtor's rights in the collateral, and an authenticated security agreement or secured party possession or control, depending on the collateral.
What is perfection in secured transactions?
Perfection gives public notice of a security interest and helps establish priority against third parties.
How is a security interest commonly perfected?
Common methods include filing a financing statement, possession, control, or automatic perfection for certain collateral.
What is a financing statement?
A financing statement is the public filing that usually identifies the debtor, secured party, and collateral to perfect a security interest.
What is a purchase money security interest?
A PMSI is a security interest that enables the debtor to acquire the collateral and may receive special priority if perfection rules are met.
What does priority determine in secured transactions?
Priority determines which claimant has the superior right to collateral when multiple parties claim the same property.
What is the general priority rule among perfected security interests?
As a general rule, the first to file or perfect has priority, subject to special statutory rules.
What is default in secured transactions?
Default is the failure to perform obligations secured by the collateral, as defined by the agreement and applicable law.
What remedies does a secured party have after default?
The secured party may repossess collateral if it can be done without breach of the peace, dispose of it commercially reasonably, or pursue other agreement and statutory remedies.
What is bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy is a federal legal process for resolving debts of individuals or businesses through liquidation, reorganization, or repayment.
What is the automatic stay?
The automatic stay immediately halts most collection actions against the debtor upon filing a bankruptcy petition.
What is Chapter 7 bankruptcy?
Chapter 7 is liquidation in which non-exempt assets may be sold to pay creditors and many remaining debts may be discharged.
What is Chapter 11 bankruptcy?
Chapter 11 is a reorganization chapter commonly used by businesses to restructure debts and continue operations.
What is Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
Chapter 13 is an adjustment of debts for individuals with regular income through a court-approved repayment plan.
What is a discharge in bankruptcy?
A discharge releases the debtor from personal liability for many prepetition debts.
Are all debts dischargeable in bankruptcy?
No, certain debts such as some taxes, fraud-related debts, domestic support obligations, and many student loans may be non-dischargeable.
What is a preference in bankruptcy?
A preference is a transfer made before bankruptcy that favors one creditor over others and may be recoverable by the trustee.
What is a fraudulent transfer in bankruptcy law?
It is a transfer made with actual intent to hinder, delay, or defraud creditors, or for less than reasonably equivalent value under specified circumstances.
What is a sole proprietorship?
A sole proprietorship is a business owned by one individual with no separate legal existence from the owner.
What is a general partnership?
A general partnership is an association of two or more persons carrying on a business as co-owners for profit.
What liability do general partners have?
General partners usually have joint and several personal liability for partnership obligations.
What is a limited partnership?
A limited partnership has at least one general partner who manages and bears general liability, and one or more limited partners whose liability is usually limited to investment.
What is an LLP?
A limited liability partnership is a partnership form that generally shields partners from personal liability for many partnership obligations.
What is an LLC?
A limited liability company is a flexible entity that generally offers limited liability to owners and allows partnership-like management or tax flexibility.
What is a corporation?
A corporation is a separate legal entity owned by shareholders and managed by directors and officers.
What is limited liability?
Limited liability means owners, generally, are not personally liable for business debts beyond their investment, absent exceptions.
What is piercing the corporate veil?
It is an equitable doctrine allowing courts to disregard limited liability when owners misuse the entity, such as through fraud, undercapitalization, or failure to respect separateness.
What duties do directors generally owe a corporation?
Directors generally owe duties of care, loyalty, and good faith.
What is the business judgment rule?
It protects directors from liability for informed, good faith business decisions made in the corporation's best interests.
What rights do shareholders generally have?
Shareholders generally have rights to vote, inspect certain records, receive dividends when declared, and share in residual assets after creditors.
What is a derivative suit?
A derivative suit is an action brought by a shareholder on behalf of the corporation to enforce a corporate claim.
What is worker classification?
Worker classification determines whether a worker is an employee or an independent contractor based on control and other factors.
Why does worker classification matter for federal law?
It affects employment tax withholding, payroll tax liability, benefits, labor law obligations, and penalty exposure.
What are employment taxes in general terms?
Employment taxes generally include federal income tax withholding, Social Security and Medicare taxes, and federal unemployment tax obligations.
What is the Federal Insurance Contributions Act?
FICI is the federal law imposing Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes on wages, typically shared by employers and employees.
What is the Federal Unemployment Tax Act?
FUTI is the federal law imposing employer-paid unemployment tax used to support unemployment compensation systems.
What is the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act in broad terms?
The FCPI prohibits bribery of foreign officials to obtain or retain business, and also requires certain accounting controls and books and records compliance.
Why is anti-bribery compliance a business law topic for CPI candidates?
CPIs may see it tested because it affects governance, internal controls, legal compliance, and potential liability for business entities.
What is the best REG exam approach to business law questions?
Identify the legal relationship, determine who has authority or duty, ask whether formation requirements were met, then apply the key default rule and any major exception.